Delyod Parker is always part of a collective, and virtually everything that he is and everything that S.H.A.P.E Center is a collective. The phrase, "there is no me without you, there is no you without me," the notion of interdependence, that describes him.
There's no pretense. There's no aspiration beyond just doing good. And if I were to look around the city and say, who is really genuinely concerned, not for publicity purposes, not for getting credit, but just simply caring about improving a people, a world, the only one that would come to mind is S.H.A.P.E. And so I see S.H.A.P.E as a genuine, authentic foundation and birthing place, really. It's kind of an incubator that helps give life to what is important, as opposed to just simply have some social standing or 501c3. I hear that so much, where people are more concerned about their tax status than what they're doing. And I don't hear that there. I hear that as, let's show you how to be healthy. Let's show you how to eat well. Let's show you what's a part of your history. And that encourages me that there is that genuineness still in society.
In the 1960s, President John Kennedy and his successor, President Lyndon Johnson, created some youth service groups called Peace Corps. And they involved, I guess you could call them mentors, but mostly they were neighborhood workers. And they came into neighborhoods, particularly low-income neighborhoods, and they dealt with education, they dealt with food and clothing. They basically were service workers. They were here in Houston in the 60s. With the death of John Kennedy in 1963 and the shifting of the nature of the presidency under Lyndon Johnson, the Peace Corps fairly well phased out. There had been a Peace Corps chapter right across the street from this building. That was at that time an abandoned grocery store. And there were 4 or 5 young white people who were Peace Corps workers there. They had a few programs, mostly youth programs, sort of partially recreational and partially educational. And when it phased out, they left and went back to whatever states they had come from, and left the building over there, and left children coming looking for someone to help them. There were a number of students at the University of Houston who were involved in civil rights at that time, 67, 68, and one of the young people who were over there was Delyod Parker. Gene Locke was there, Onwale Lutherly. There are a number of people who are still involved in fights for justice and fairness. But there was something about Delyod that was different. In the first place, he didn't seem to have a vindictive attitude. That was the time when you hated white people. And it was a very simple thing to simply say that all white people were bad and that all black people were vulnerable. That was not his attitude. He was somebody that I knew could at least work with this program for a summer. And that was what I asked him. I asked him if he would be willing to work with this program for a summer. We would raise some money to get a salary for him. And I hadn't thought of his staying there. We simply needed someone to be present when those children came. And he came. Not only was he present, but he changed completely what S.H.A.P.E was doing. He gave it a name. It was called S.H.A.P.E then, but I don't know that it had any special meaning, but he turned it into an acronym and gave to it the self-help for Africans. And I think that for the most part, what he did was to begin to carry out what he was personally. So when you ask me who is Delyod Parker, I have to say Delyod Parker is the result of a collective.
People always ask me, Delyod, what made you start S.H.A.P.E? Hey, look, when something is your passion, you don't look for something to make you do it. You're gonna do it if you can. And family is my passion. My mother and my father, 10 children, they help me to understand how important family is. And my little mother, 4'11", who was strong about family. My father, same way, 10 children. The bottom line is not about me. I'm gonna go back to the organizational structure. It's about S.H.A.P.E and what we do organizationally and what we do. So what we do at S.H.A.P.E, in starting the center, first program we had at S.H.A.P.E was a free breakfast program, serving breakfast every morning. Then we had the Sons of Africa, SOA. Then the Daughters of Africa, DOA. And then we had programs, after school programs, summer youth program. We started implementing programs that were about family. And to this very day, all of those programs have been strengthened and we've added others to contribute to that. What we do at S.H.A.P.E is for the purpose of making the family strong, socially, culturally, educationally, nutritionally, spiritually. All those are part and parcel of what's needed to make the family strong. And I'll give you an example. We embrace the concept of Kwanzaa, unity, self-determination, collective work and responsibility, cooperative economics, purpose, creativity, and faith. We embrace all 7 of those principles to do what we have to do. So Kwanzaa is a celebration of family, community, and culture. Without a family, you're in trouble. Without a culture, you're in trouble. And that's what makes up a community. So family, community, and culture. So we started creating programs that address these issues, but the main mission is to strengthen the family. So our overall mission at S.H.A.P.E Center is family strengthening and empowerment. So everything we do at S.H.A.P.E from that time until now has the purpose of making the family strong. Strong socially, culturally, economically, politically, spiritually. All our programs are geared toward contributing to that concept and that mission.
I think most African Americans who seek to be connected with African American culture, when they arrive in Houston, somehow they find the 3rd Ward. And if you find the 3rd Ward, then you will ultimately find S.H.A.P.E Center. And so when I came here in the mid-80s, I fairly quickly found my way to S.H.A.P.E Community Center because of its leadership role in promoting and encouraging political consciousness and community activism.
Since I've been here in Houston, what attracted me to S.H.A.P.E and what I saw in S.H.A.P.E Community Center was that they fought for the rights of those the least, those with the less, those without a voice. I think the initial fight that I saw S.H.A.P.E in was the Ida Delaney case, where a young lady was on her way home from work and was actually murdered by some Houston police officers. And they fought to get those officers indicted and brought to justice. Then the other case that I saw S.H.A.P.E very instrumental in was the Clarence Bradley case, where the young man was a janitor at a Conroe High School and he was charged with rape and put on death row. And S.H.A.P.E was out front in getting his release from prison and off death row.
When you save somebody's life, that's a highlight. When a man is on death row for 9 years, 5 or 6 days before they would give him a lethal injection, before they would have killed him, And we mobilized, organized. We had been mobilizing and organizing much sooner than that, but we're not having the level of success that we wanted that would get him, that would save his life. But after so long, organizing, every Wednesday we met here, we organized, we mobilized, we organized, we mobilized, and guess what? We were able to get an evidentiary hearing, and we got this man off of death row about 6 or 7 days before he was to be given a legal injection. His name, Clarence Bradley. He's alive to this day. That's a highlight. When you contribute what's necessary to save somebody's life, I'm not saying we did it, but it's a collective work that did it. Not Delyod, not S.H.A.P.E, but the S.H.A.P.E hosted and provided the space and the organizing and resources to help him get off death row. And we protested. I remember we did some interesting things. We were very creative in our protest. We even put some cow manure on the steps of the governor's mansion. The objective was to let people know what we felt about Texas justice. It wasn't worth bull, and you can go from there. That meant we had to change it. And we were changing, and we were organizing, we were mobilizing. Clarence Bradley is alive right now. He's in Conroe.
Something real positive for the Third Ward community, you know, because there's not too many things that's happened. You just see Health House in Fifth Ward, and out in Third Ward, it's like, you know, Delyod and everything, S.H.A.P.E Center.
The real purpose of life is to help others, and that's so true. If you really want to get into S.H.A.P.E, then you need to get into loving other people, because that's what S.H.A.P.E is about. S.H.A.P.E is not about itself, it's about loving people and strengthening people and families. So I want to get into S.H.A.P.E. I want to love more, and I want to be there for S.H.A.P.E and for people that need so much help. I wish my heart were as large as Delyod's, and I pray that God would give me a little more space in it so that at least I can have more capacity to love. But that's the kind of getting in shape. I don't want to get on the treadmill. I want to get on the love meal, okay? Because that's what it's about. That's the way I see it.
We have to push to keep our institutions alive decade by decade. And S.H.A.P.E Center is about to reach a half century. We need to push S.H.A.P.E into the half century with enough strength and support that we could look forward to the next 50. You know, and start building institutions that help us stay connected to the specifics of our culture over time.
It's something that the community really needs, you know, every community needs. Even out there in Fifth Ward, they want to tear down Wheatley School. Those are historical marks. They should never be torn down, things like that, because that goes back 40, 50, 80 years, or 40 years or something. But it's important that we keep all our identity, and when you lose the community centered like that, you lose the community. They do a lot of things that they don't even do in the schools at the S.H.A.P.E Center, you know, preparing young people. They start them at early age. My granddaughter's going there now. She goes to classes and do a lot of things. These kids are so far advanced and on the computer, you know, with all this technology. And I'm looking forward to the technology is really going to take over and elevate the S.H.A.P.E Center in the future, and the near future coming up.
The S.H.A.P.E community has been such a presence in Houston and has helped so many people that we really need to give to make sure that it continues past Delyod Parker, continues past Reginald McKamie, that it continues in the community and helps our children, helps those elders that need the help and that, you know, go to that community center. It is the place where people go when anything happens in Houston. You're going to see people at S.H.A.P.E getting around it, and we need to keep that facility and that kind of mentality there.
And so I see S.H.A.P.E as a genuine, authentic foundation and birthing place, really. It's kind of an incubator that helps give life to what is important. as opposed to just simply have some social standing or 501c3. I hear that so much, where people are more concerned about their tax status than what they're doing. And I don't hear that there. I hear that as, let's show you how to be healthy. Let's show you how to eat well. Let's show you what's a part of your history. And that encourages me that there is that genuineness still in society.
It's been a challenge, but the point is that why did we start S.H.A.P.E? What did we do when we first started S.H.A.P.E? We always knew from the very beginning the importance of family. Strong family, strong community. Strong community, strong nation. And that's what we believed then, and that has not changed. But you have to deal with it from a concept of comprehensive work.
I realized that the African American community has gone through so much, For me, as a person of color, when I come to this country and what I enjoy the freedoms right now, I realize that there is somebody who died for this, who gave sweat and blood. And I feel that as an immigrant, as a person of color, I need to respect that. I need to acknowledge that. And I don't think there is enough of that done.
What we taught during that time, before S.H.A.P.E, was helping people, children, to understand that we are great people and we are beautiful. That's what I'm black and I'm proud came into existence. I'm black and I'm proud. Remember that thing, when you're black, step back. If you're brown, stay around. If you're white, you are right. And that kind of stuff. All this stuff, I may not have said it correct, but that's the idea. So all this was helping to get us to think that we were worthless. And it's easy to keep you in servitude. It's easy to keep you a slave or to keep you subjugated if you think that you're not worth being higher than that. If you think that you're not worthy of being free, and you're not going to do anything to get out of that condition. So,
S.H.A.P.E basically gave me the foundation on which I could stand upon to engage in this community. It's also my foundation for understanding the value of community activism and also strategies toward community action. And so it was with that foundation that I was able to apply it in my field of art.
It's like this. As an artist, you have responsibility to be able to grab a hold of your direction and go on it. I had a responsibility to make those choices and to make things happen. The S.H.A.P.E Center was, I felt great about being able to have a place to house the pieces and to be able to have an opportunity to show through the S.H.A.P.E Center. But everything that was thought of and created was on my mindset. I chose the S.H.A.P.E Center because this is where I feel that it needs to necessarily be implemented because of its importance in the community, and me being an African American, this is where I feel I need to be able to start the seed of where I need to go on my journey.
We need to be open-minded, and then things will change. And I think that's very important to build the bridges between the communities, because you can't just have walls, and you have to have holding hands together. That's very important.
You have the body, right? You have all those organs in your body, and every organ has a function. You're not gonna find the heart cleansing the blood. The heart's job is to pump the blood. You're not gonna find the kidney flushing it. The kidney's supposed to filter the blood. You're not gonna find the brain pumping the blood. That's the heart's job. The brain is gonna send the signals to the rest of the body. The bottom line, each organ in your body has a role to play. There's no greater, no lesser, no major, no minor. Each organ is equally as important, but they gotta work together. Somebody said, well, the heart is it's a major organ, but what if the kidney decides not to cleanse the blood that the heart pumps? What if the lungs decide not to oxidize it? What if all those organs, then the heart is gonna be in trouble. So we, just like you look at the human body, you look at the family the same way. In the family, you have all these organs. You have the mother, the father, the brother, the sister, the grandmother. All these are part and parcel of what make that family strong. Each of them has to do what they have to do. In our community, you have the same thing. You have organs in your community. Give me one organ. Religious institutions is one. Give me another organ. The educational institutions, give me another organ. You have the businesses in the community. You have all these organs in that community. When one of them break down, you have a dysfunctional community. When the religious institutions do not impart spirituality, you're in trouble. When the economic institutions do not strengthen the economy, you have a dysfunctional community. When the schools or educational institutions do not educate, you have a dysfunctional community. Just like in your body. If your lungs don't take care of its business, if your heart doesn't take care of it, you have a dysfunctional body, you're sick. So that concept, and we say I am because we are therefore I am. There's no me without you, and there's no you without me. We are all part of a family of interdependence, which simply means we need each other. No greater, no lesser. No major, no minor. Every organ, every part is as equally as important as the other, but they gotta work together. So that's the philosophically, conceptually, that's the concept that we operate at S.H.A.P.E Center with. So all our programs have to contribute to that in one way or the other.
The S.H.A.P.E community has been such a presence in Houston and has helped so many people that we really need to give to make sure that it continues past Delyod Parker, continues past Reginald McKamie, that it continues in the community and helps our children, helps those elders that need the help and that, go to that community center. It is the place where people go when anything happens in Houston. You're going to see people at S.H.A.P.E getting around it. And we need to keep that facility and that kind of mentality there.
As long as S.H.A.P.E remains as a lighthouse that points us back in the direction of the important history from which we come, that is my hope for S.H.A.P.E, that we can establish it financially because it already has the commitment and the energy of the people. It just needs some of the base needs in a capitalistic society to be ongoing. And so that's my hope, that before those of us who perish that have means, that we can leave behind at least some fruits that God has given us to take care of that institution.
When I think of giving, I think about all of those that came before us, that gave their nickels and dimes and their dollars to the churches and the institutions such as the NAACP and other institutions that have helped us progress. And I think today we, those that are able, have to start contributing to make sure those institutions continue. And S.H.A.P.E is an institution, and it's not just Delyod Parker. And to make that institution continue, we have to give it money. It's mother's milk. And we have to make sure they can keep the lights on, that legacy continues, that they can continue to have programs for the seniors, for the elders in the community, for the children. And the only way to do that is to give, and to give till it hurts. Sometimes we want to go get something else, buy something, but we need to say, what is our future? What's the future for our children? And we need to give.
We have to start training our young people to take over. Emerging leaders. We need some emerging leaders, like Brad, like his brother, and like young people. They need to be trained, educated, taught, so they can step in. And I don't mean after I go. I mean right now. They need to walk with me. They walk with me to learn what I know, and I walk with them to learn what I need to change. Because that's what our festival, that's what our event is about, our anniversary. What's the first thing we want to do with the past? We want to celebrate the past. What are we going to do with the present? We want to embrace the present. and we want to shape the future. And those young people represent those that we want to shape so they can carry on. Because God knows that He gave us only a certain amount of time to be here. And if we think that we're going to be here forever, then we're in trouble. So we have to recognize that He gave us a length of time to be here and prepare for the time after we leave. And that means we have to get young people. So what's next for SHAPE? Start preparing for the future, shaping the future. You know, keep the foundation intact. Keep the principles intact, the values intact, but the strategies can change. The method could change. Keep your principles intact, but your methods can change. And you know, you can shift to social media sometimes to get the word out. Whereas before, we did it different ways. You know, you have to use what you got. And so we got a lot of work to do. But remember, it takes a collective. That's why we embrace the 7 principles. And those principles, I'll close with these principles. Unity of the family, we have to have that. Self-determination, we have to think for ourselves, speak for ourselves, define ourselves, and name ourselves, not have other people telling us who we are. Collective work and responsibility. We have to work collectively, not individualistically. Not individually. We have to work collectively. No one person can do everything, but together we can get everything done. Then we have cooperative economics. No one person can afford everything, but collectively, cooperatively, we can afford what we need. Then we have to have a purpose in life, period. We have to know why we're here. Why are we here? I'm here to bring good into the world. I'm here to make a difference. And the difference I make, I hope will be as a result of bringing good into the world. And you drop one of those O's and you got bringing God into the world, back into the world. And then you got to have some creativity. And I'm going to close on this note, I will. I'm going to tell you something. Creativity. Who are the most creative people in this world? Not the color, but who are the most creative people in terms of class? The people with the least. The people with the least are the most creative people in the world. We have to make what we can't buy. Those people with big money, they can go buy it. But we, poor people, and I don't like to use that word poor, people who don't have a lot, have to learn how to create with what they got. My mother, I never missed a meal with all 10 of us in that house. Why did I never miss a meal? Because my mother and father were creative. They knew how to create kush, how to create dirty rice, how to make something out of nothing. They knew how to do that. We couldn't just run to the store and get what we wanted. We had to create it. You know, I mean, we fed a whole lot of our brothers and sisters with kush. And we didn't throw nothing away. That became part of the dirty rice, you know. And then we always tell people, black people invented, my parents invented Rice Krispies. And Kellogg got hold to it. How do you mean? Well, you see, when we scorched that rice at the bottom of that pot, we didn't throw it away. That rice became a cereal. We put a little milk and sugar, and that was the original Rice Krispies. But it's real. See, that's creativity. That's creative. And so I'm saying, in essence, we have to use those 7 principles. The one I haven't told you about yet, I'll tell you what purpose was. I'll tell you about creativity. But we have to have some FAITH. That's the final principle. That's the foundation that all the others sit on. If you don't have no faith, these other 6 you can flush down the toilet because they don't mean it. You have to believe. You have to faith in yourself, your parents, your teachers, faith in the righteousness and the victory of our struggle. You have to have faith. So those are the foundational principles that SHAPE is based on. And I hope I haven't taken too much of your time, but the bottom line to it all is that the struggle continues. And we want to make sure there's a SHAPE Center here tomorrow, the next day, and for a long time. And the way we do that is to recognize that the young people have a major role to play.
Hi, I'm Anu, and come to SHAPE and volunteer and see how it enriches your life. And especially people from my community and other communities, come to SHAPE.
I'm Ben Hall, and I encourage you to get into SHAPE.
I'm Reginald McKamie, and I am encouraging you to get into SHAPE.
My name is Rick Lowe, and I'm encouraging you to get into SHAPE.